In this video, I'll be showing you how to build an expandable banner ad using the workspace solution. For this walkthrough, I'll be downloading the expandable banner template. Now that it is saved, we can unzip the contents onto our computer. Here you'll find multiple zips with different sizes and some containing video. Choose the one you would like to use and unzip it into a folder. For this demo, I have already picked the 300 by 250 banner to 500 by 250 and placed this into a folder. In the folder, you will find multiple folders for different assets. Here we have the index.html file, which is our main HTML file, folder for the images, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, because this is an expandable banner, we also have another folder called panels, which you won't find in standard banners. As you are aware, an expandable has a collapsed and expanded part, and it is in the panels folder where you will find the expanded portion of the ad. I'll show you that a bit later. I'll open the Creative up in my browser just to show you what it looks like. For now, we want to customize our collapsed banner. So we'll open up the index.html file in this folder first in our text editor. In this file, you'll see a code for the creative. In the head, we have a script tag that links to our adkit.js. This is our core ad library and provides all the support functions for this ad to connect to the platform. Some other important code you will want to have is our click-through handler, which is called eb.clickthrough. This allows our platform to record the click when it is called and sends the user to the click-through URL, which we'll later define in the platform. In this expandable banner, there is another important function called expand, which allows the creative to expand. You can define this function by putting in the name of the panel you want to expand in these curly braces. The name of the panel is something you can set in the platform, and you just need to make sure they both match. The function can also take in a parameter called ebg.actionType. These parameters define whether the expand function is user initiated or automatically initiated, which will be useful for reporting purposes. There is also another function below called eb.collapse. This allows the currently displayed panel to collapse. The expanded panel will be the one that uses this function. It can also take in a panel name like the expand function if you want to collapse certain panels. For now, we want to turn this template into a working ad, so let's do that. First, I want to change the background so my ad looks better, so let's use some assets our designers have provided to us. Here are my two assets. Opening up the index.html file, I want to remove the seismic text and logo and use my image instead, and set the width and height. I've placed the two assets into their relevant folders. First thing I want to do is open up the index.html file, so I can remove the seismic text and logo and put in my image instead. I also need to set the width and height of the image. Next is to remove the default buttons and place our own buttons. Now that I have the expand div, I need to adjust the styling so it covers the expand part of the image. Firstly, I'll comment out the buttons that I haven't used. And I'll also remove the background styling. Next, I'll link the expand button to the div. Since we'll be using our own buttons, I won't be needing the initialize close button function here. With that done, I can preview this in the browser and see how the panel looks. Now we can see our ad is looking more to what we want it to be. For this demo, I'll be using the button there to demonstrate how it expands, but of course you can customize this to expand using other elements in the ad. One thing to note is that due to the nature of expandable template, I won't be able to see the creative expand locally. I will be able to test this later when I upload the assets onto the platform and use the platform preview. Now that our collapsed banner is done, we'll go on to the expanded panel. Opening up the panels folder, you'll find another folder that contains all the assets for the expanded panel. Inside that, you'll find a similar folder structure to the collapsed panel. Again, we'll go ahead and alter our expanded panel to have the image that we want. Open up the index.html file and insert the image into the creative. One thing I would like to point out here is the code eb.initExpansionParams. This defines the way the creative expands and is required for the platform to preview expandable banners. The first two numbers define the expansion direction from the top left of the creative. Unlike normal x and y coordinates, a positive number moves the ad left and top respectively. The next two numbers are for the maximum size of the creative, which you can set as the expanded size. Now I remove the buttons and seismic logo and text so that we can add our own. There is some other important code here. We have eb.userActionCounter. This provides a way to track user interactions, and we can define a name for it by changing the name here. Again, we have eb.clickthrough, and this panel needs a close button to collapse. I'll go ahead and make these changes now. First, I'll link all the buttons to the code. Now I need to style the buttons. Now I want to check my changes to the expanded panel, so I'll open up the Creative in my browser. Again, the functionality of some of the buttons won't work yet until you upload the final asset onto our platform. Looking good to me. At this point, it would be good to look at lowering the file weight of the Creative by using our HTML5 shared JavaScript libraries. You can find the information in our Help Center. Now we want to upload this onto the platform so that we can start getting it ready for trafficking. To do this, we need to zip up the contents of the directory. Make sure your main index file is in the root of the zip file and that the backup image is included in the zip. You can keep it in the images folder if you have one. Now with our zip, we can head back into the platform. Under the Manager menu on the left-hand side, go to Ads. In this section, you will see a list of all the ads you have created. Click on the New button in the top menu. In the drop-down, there are various options here. The option we are after is the Create New Ad option, so we'll click on that. This will open up the new ad screen. Here you'll find details for your ad, including the ad size. At the top, you'll see a field for the ad name. To be able to organize your creatives better, it will be good to come up with a file name convention. One that we recommend to have is the campaign name, then ad name, the ad type, the ad size, and the version. Next, we select an ad format. There are a lot of formats here, and it will be different depending on what kind of creative you are making. For this demo, we are using the HTML5 expandable banner, so we'll select that. This will make more fields appear. In the Workspace section, click on Select. Another window will appear that lists out all the assets that have been uploaded into your account. You can also see all your files under the Creative Assets link under the Manage menu in the platform. We can select a pre-existing folder or create a new one using the menu at the top. You can also move, download, and delete files if needed, provided they haven't already been attached to an ad. So it's better to upload a new version rather than delete, so that you don't affect any other ads. For this demo, we'll be using this training folder here. Now that we have a folder, we'll need to upload our zip file. Select New, Creative Asset, and another new window will appear. Click on Add and it will open up our file browser to select the file on our computer. Click on the file and it will take us back to the screen and show us what will be uploaded. You can edit the name of the file here if you want, but I'll keep it the same for this demo. Click Upload, and provided the zip is correctly compressed, you will find it here in the File menu. To be sure that we can select the zip file as a workspace, it needs to have this red icon with the 5 to be a valid workspace. Highlight the workspace and click Select. Now you'll see the ad size in the ad summary has changed and given us the size of the ad. Note, this is the billable size for the platform and not at ad load. The way this is calculated is that it adds up all the compressed sizes of all the assets in the workspace and only taking into account the largest video or additional asset. Next, we'll select the default or backup image. This is shown when the browser doesn't support JavaScript and for HTML5 creatives used to define the ad size, so please make sure the dimensions match the size of the ad. For expandable banners, that would be the clap size. This is highly important as you will need the size of the creative to match the placement size and vice versa, otherwise we won't be able to attach it for trafficking. Select the backup image in the workspace and press Select. Now you see our ad dimensions have been detected and shown in the ad summary here. Because this is an expandable banner, we have an extra field called the panels list. Here we need to define the expanded panel so the platform knows how to use it. Click on Add Panel and select the index file of the expanded panel. First thing we will need to do is fill in the panel name. The name here has to match the code, so make sure it is correct, otherwise the panel won't function properly. Here our panel is just called Expand, so we'll fill that in. Now there's some extra fields here which are populated when I selected the panel. The first column shows which one is the default panel. In creatives with multiple panels, there might be a situation where you will only want a certain panel to appear first, so this is where you select this by using this button at the top and setting the panel as default. Next, it will show you the dimensions of the expanded panel, whether you want it to auto expand on mouse over. Next, it will show you the dimensions of the expanded panel, whether you want it to auto expand on mouse over, delay expansion on mouse over, auto collapse options. For this demo, I'll select this option to never, and positioning of the panel, which we won't need to touch here. Next we have panel settings. We have an option to show a single panel at a time. This is useful if there is a panel that you don't want to show at the same time as another panel. We'll leave it checked here. There is also an auto expand default panel when loaded option. This auto expands the panel which is set as a default on the list. Underneath are the frequency settings we can set for the panel. We don't need to touch them here. Next, we set the click-through URL. For this, we'll just keep it as the http://www.seismic.com. Please put the full URL path including the HTTP, as some creatives won't work without this. Next, there are some additional settings you can select here. The download mode allows the creative to either show immediately or wait until the content is loaded before displaying. If the polite mode is selected, you will have the option to show the default image while the creative loads. Keep in mind that this will factor the default image into the file weight of the creative. Next, press save. Now that's done, it's best we preview the creative to make sure it is working correctly, so we'll press the preview button to bring this up. Here you will see the ad in the middle and information about the ad on the sidebar, including the ad ID, the size, the format, interactions recorded, and a list of assets used by the ad. We want to be sure this is working, so we'll expand the ad and check our interactions monitor to see whether it is tracking correctly. As you can see, the interactions monitor has recorded that it has tracked the expand interaction. You can also see that this is a user-initiated action. If this was auto-expand, then the interaction monitor would say it was an automatic action. If nothing came up, it would mean something is wrong with the tracking or my code. I also want to check that the creative clicks through correctly. Again, it has tracked the click and opened up the URL correctly. Next, I want to check that the creative collapsed correctly. Again, it does, and it recorded the collapse. If there were any issues, I would check again over my code and use my browser's debug console to check if there were any issues that were related to the creative. Most modern browsers have a JavaScript console which you can access. Another thing I can do here is press the Share Preview button below to generate a link I can send to the client for approval. As a final step, I will email us at Seismic to submit this to Seismic's internal QA to make sure the creative is thoroughly tested across multiple devices and to be sure the creative is working correctly. This ends the video on creating an expandable banner using the Workspace solution.